Joshua chapter 14. The Israelites received these portions that the priest Eleazar, Joshua son of Nun, and the family heads of the Israelite tribes gave them in the land of Canaan. Their inheritance was by lot, as the Lord commanded through Moses, for the 9.5 tribes, because Moses had given the inheritance to the 2.5 tribes beyond the Jordan. But he gave no inheritance among them to the Levites. The descendants of Joseph became 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. No portion of the land was given to the Levites except cities to live in, along with the pasture lands for their cattle and livestock. So the Israelites did as the Lord commanded Moses, and they divided the land. The descendants of Judah approached Joshua at Gilgal, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, said to him, "You know what the Lord promised Moses, the man of God, at Kadesh Barnea, about you and me. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land, and I brought him an honest report. But my companions who went up with me made the heart of the people melt, yet I wholeheartedly followed the Lord my God. And Moses swore on that day, saying, Surely the land on which your foot has trodden shall be an inheritance for you and your children forever, because you have wholeheartedly followed the Lord my God. And now, as you see, the Lord has kept me alive, as he said these 45 years since the time that the Lord spoke this word to Moses, while Israel was journeying through the wilderness, and here I am today, 85 years old. I am still as strong today as I was on the day that Moses sent me. My strength is now as my strength was then, for war and for going and coming. So now, give me this hill country of which the Lord spoke on that day, for you heard on that day how the Anakim were there, with great fortified cities. It may be that the Lord will be with me, and I will drive them out, as the Lord said." Then Joshua blessed Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and gave him Hebron as his inheritance. So Hebron has belonged to Caleb, son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite ever since, because he followed the Lord, the God of Israel, wholeheartedly. Hebron used to be called Kiriath Arba, after Arba, who was the greatest man among the Anakites. Then the land had rest from war. Joshua chapter 15. Now the allotment for the tribe of the descendants of Judah by their clans was in the southernmost region, south to the wilderness of Zin and over to the border of Edom. Their southern border began at the tip of the Dead Sea on the South Bay and went south of the Scorpion's Ascent, proceeded to Zin, ascended to the south of Kadesh Barnea, passed Hezron, ascended to Adar, and turned to Karka. It proceeded to Asmon and to the brook of Egypt, and so the border ended at the Mediterranean Sea. This is your southern border. Now the eastern border was along the Dead Sea to the mouth of the Jordan. The border on the north side was from the bay of the sea at the mouth of the Jordan. It ascended to Beth Hogla, proceeded north of Beth Araba, and ascended to the stone of Bohan, son of Reuben. Then the border ascended to Debir from the valley of Achor, turning north to the Gilgal that is opposite the ascent of Adumim, which is south of the ravine. The border proceeded to the waters of En-Shemesh and ended at En-Rogel. From there, the border ascended to Ben-Himnon Valley to the southern Jebusite slope, that is Jerusalem, and ascended to the top of the hill that faces Himnon Valley on the west, at the northern end of Rephaim Valley. From the top of the hill, the border curved to the spring of the waters of Nephtoah, went to the cities of Mount Ephron, and then curved to Baalah, that is Kiriath Jearim. The border turned westward from Baalah to Mount Seir, went to the northern slope of Mount Jearim, that is Chesalon, descended to Beth Shemesh, and proceeded to Timnah. Then the border reached the slope north of Ekron, curved to Shikkeron, proceeded to Mount Baalah, went to Jabneel, and ended at the Mediterranean Sea. Now the western border was the coastline of the Mediterranean Sea. This was the boundary of the descendants of Judah around their clans. He gave Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the following portion among the descendants of Judah based on the Lord's instruction to Joshua. Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron. Arba was the father of Anak. Caleb drove out from there the 3 sons of Anak, Shishai, Ahiman, and Talmai, descendants of Anak. From there he marched against the inhabitants of Debir, which used to be called Kiriath Sefer. And Caleb said, "Whoever attacks and captures Kiriath Sefer, I will give my daughter Aksa to him as a wife." So Othniel, son of Caleb's brother, Kenaz, captured it, and Caleb gave his daughter Aksa to him as a wife. When she arrived, she persuaded Othniel to ask her father for a field. As she got off her donkey, Caleb asked her, "What can I do for you?" She replied, "Give me a blessing. Since you have given me land in the Negev, give me the springs also." So he gave her the upper and lower springs. This was the inheritance of the tribe of the descendants of Judah by their clans. These were the outermost cities of the tribe of the descendants of Judah toward the border of Edom in the Negev: Kabzeel, Eder, Jagur, Kina, Dimona, Adada, Kedesh, Hazor, Ithnan, Ziph, Telim, Beeloth, Hazor Hadattah, Kirioth Hezron, that is Hazor, Amam, Shema, Moladah, Hazor Gada, Heshmon, Beth Pelet, Hazor Sheol, Beer Sheba, Biziothia, Bala, Lim, Ezem, Eltolad, Chesil, Hormah, Ziklag, Madmana, Sansana, Lebaoth, Shilhim, Aian, and Rimmon, in all 29 towns with their villages, and in the lowland, Ishtaol, Zorah, Ashna, Zanoah, En-Ganim, Tapua, Enam, Jarmuth, Adullam, Sukkoth, Azekah, Shai-Raim, Adithium, Gedera, Gederothaim, 14 towns with their villages, Zenan, Hadashah, Migdal-Gad, Dilan, Mizpah, Jokthi-El, Lachish, Boskath, Eglon, Kabon, Lamem, Chitlish, Gedorath, Beth Dagon, Naamah, Makkedah, 16 towns with their villages, Libnah, Ether, Ashan, Iftah, Ashna, Nezib, Kiala, Akzib, and Mareshah, 9 towns with their villages, Ekron with its towns and villages, from Ekron to the sea, all that were near Ashdod with their villages, Ashdod, its towns and its villages, Gaza, its towns and its villages, to the Wadi of Egypt, and the Great Sea with its coast, and in the hill country, Shamir, Jatir, Sukkoth, Dana, Kiriath Sana, that is Debir, Anab, Eshtemoh, Anim, Goshen, Holon, and Gilo, 11 towns and their villages, Arab, Duma, Eshan, Janim, Beth Tapua, Afika, Humta, Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, and Zior, 9 towns and their villages, Maon, Carmel, Ziph, Juta, Jezreel, Jokdeam, Zanoah, Cain, Gibeah, and Timnah, 10 towns and their villages, Halhul, Beth Zur, Gedor, Mara, Beth Anoth, and Eltekon, 6 towns and their villages, Kiriath Baal, that is Kiriath Jearim, and Reba, 2 towns and their villages. In the wilderness, Beth Araba, Midden, Sekaka, Nibshan, the city of Salt, and En-Gedi, 6 towns and their villages. Judah could not dislodge the Jebusites who were living in Jerusalem. To this day, the Jebusites live there with the people of Judah. Luke chapter 4, verse 33. In the synagogue there was a man who had the spirit of an unclean demon, and he cried out with a loud voice, "Leave us alone! What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." "Be quiet," Jesus said sternly. "Come out of him." Then the demon threw the man down before them all, and came out without injuring him. All the people were amazed and said to each other, "What words these are! With authority and power he gives orders to impure spirits, and they come out." And the news about him spread throughout the surrounding area. Jesus left the synagogue and went to the home of Simon. Now Simon's mother-in-law was suffering from a high fever, and they asked Jesus to help her. So he bent over her and rebuked the fever, and it left. She got up at once and began to wait on them. At sunset, the people brought to Jesus all who had various kinds of sickness, and laying his hands on each one, he healed them. Moreover, demons came out of many people, shouting, "You are the Son of God." But he rebuked them and would not allow them to speak, because they knew he was the Messiah. At daybreak, Jesus went out to a solitary place. The people were looking for him, and when they came to where he was, they tried to keep him from leaving them. But he said, "I must proclaim the good news of the kingdom of God to the other towns also, because that is why I was sent." And he kept on preaching in the synagogues of Judea.